Hello there, welcome to CCTV's Africa Live, a new program that brings you news from the continent from all perspectives. I'm Ramanyang in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Here's what we have lined up for you in the next 30 minutes. We'll be assessing the state of US-Africa trade ties as President Obama's tour of Africa enters its final day. And the Burundian League giants Vital O beat Rwanda's APR 2-0 in Sekafa to claim their first regional club title. Let's start in North Africa, where Egypt's President Mohamed Morsi has rejected the army's 48-hour ultimatum to resolve the country's deadly political crisis, saying it will only sow confusion. He insists in this particular instance that he will remain in charge and will continue with his own plans for national reconciliation. That's according to a presidential statement that was issued earlier on Tuesday. Thousands of protesters right across Egypt took to the streets earlier on Monday in regard to the army's ultimatum. With the details from North Africa, here's CCTV's Adel El-Maghroubi.
Thousands of Egyptians celebrated the army statement at the Defense Ministry in Cairo, considering that Morsi's oust is soon. Despite that the statement didn't ask the president to step down, they are confident of the army's intentions.
I am very happy. The Defense Ministry expressed a feeling that all Egyptians share, which is a solution to the situation that we are in. So either the president will solve it or the defense minister will.
We are expecting this statement from Marshal al-Sisi. He showed us that he is a great man. This is the true role of the armed forces, to protect the people and their aspirations.
Army's intervention was what most of those people were hoping for when they took the streets in unprecedented massive numbers on June 30th. Few hours later, the presidential office responded, stating that dialogue is what it has been calling for, but always met the opposition's rejection. And it clarified that el-Sisi's statement came to the public without its consultation.
Morsi's opponents are celebrating the army's support to them as if they've won the battle. But at Rabaa al-Adawiyya, where Morsi supporters are staying, they're not giving up just yet.
No police force or national security or army or constitutional court will be able to change those people's opinion. We all say yes to the legitimacy of the president. President Morsi is the commander-in-chief of the army, yet he offered talks days ago.
Islamists also took the street after the army statement, rejecting it. From this stage, speakers told the audience that it is a move against Islam.
The people took the street normally all over the country with a clear message to reject any form of coup d'etat against the legitimacy they voted for. This is, of course, all peaceful.
The whole Egyptian people is stuck strongly to Islam, and no one can separate us from our religion. I want to tell the whole world that unless you accept President Mohamed Morsi today as a legal and legislative president, you will see more than that. Accept this today, or the Islamic revolution is about to happen in few days.
Analysts warned that Islamists' plan to take the streets in massive rallies on Tuesday could return violence to the country. Adel El-Maghroubi, CCTV, Cairo.
Now let's get the latest on this and are joined live by CCTV's Adel El-Maghroubi. He's live in the Egyptian capital of Cairo. Adel, we understand, of course, that President Mohamed Morsi has rejected the army's ultimatum. What reasons did he give for doing so?
Well, first of all, he stated that he is the president of the country, and it is the legitimacy of the constitution that he continues unless, so far there is nothing that would make him step over. And he clearly stated that the president will continue in his performance and also will still seek national dialogue. The presidency sees that the army calling for reconciliation talks, particularly to set on a roadmap to change for political transition, is exactly the same if hosted by the army or if initiated by the presidency. And several days before the army takes gives yesterday's statement, in a speech to the nation, President Morsi stated that he's willing for talks, but the opposition rejected. So this is where the difference mainly comes for the president's office.
Indeed. The statement from the army, of course, yesterday was give the army itself a bit of wiggle room, really. Does the army's ultimatum essentially mean that they will take over if President Morsi does refuse to step down?
Well, officially, according to the army's statement, they're not willing to participate in the political life by any form, and this was part of yesterday's statement to the nation. However, they stressed that they will be responsible to guarantee the safety of the people and to protect the borders of the country. Its only role would to make sure that all political sects would sit together and reach their own roadmap. But beside that, the army stated that it will have no role after that. So this makes the speculations of a new national government or a new government that would be composed from several or various political sects would be the most probable scenario if President Morsi decided to leave power. That's one option. The second option is for the president to continue, but after he sets a date for the presidential elections or early presidential elections.
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being, though. Thank you very much for that. That's CCTV's Adel Maghrouki in Cairo. Just overlooking the fairly noisy Tahrir Square. Fairly interesting developments happening there. We'll have details for you later on at 1700 GMT. Meanwhile, over in East Africa, the American President Barack Obama is due to wrap up his three-nation African tour on Tuesday. He's expected to meet Tanzanian President Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete in the country's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam. With the details on what the US President is calling a new model for Africa's development, here's CCTV's Jen Keo.
Tanzania may have been last in line after Senegal and South Africa, but it certainly showed it knows how to throw a welcome party. Barack Obama is hoping this tour will rebuild relations and boost trade. His Tanzanian counterpart made clear this tour is a good start.
Africa needs the United States. The United States needs Africa. And the only way you can build these relations is through exchange of visits.
Tanzania has been a long-standing partner to America on security and development. Its economic importance is not in doubt. It's rich in resources largely unexploited. Obama says Tanzania has the potential to transform the region. More, that America wants a new deal with Africa.
We are looking at a new model that's based not just on aid and assistance, but on trade and partnership. And increasingly what we want to do is use whatever monies that we're providing to build capacity.
And electricity is one area Obama has singled out for this new model. On Tuesday, he's due to visit a US-owned power plant, backing up his announcement over the weekend of a $7 billion US power generation plan for sub-Saharan Africa. Well, there's been a great sense of anticipation among people here. Barack Obama has a huge following in Tanzania, yet people also want to know exactly what the American president can offer and how it can benefit them and their country. What is clear, though, is that Tanzania is in demand from East and West. Just 3 months ago, China's President Xi Jinping was here. More evidence to back analysts' claims that for all the glitz and glamour, Obama is also playing catch-up. Jen Keo, CCTV, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
And CCTV's Jen Keo is live in the Tanzanian commercial capital of Dar es Salaam. The US, of course, saying that they're having a new model of engagement focused on trade and investment. What have been the highlights of business engagement in Tanzania so far for President Obama?
Well, Rama, just before he wrapped up his visit and left Dar es Salaam over 1 hour ago, President Obama did launch that Power Africa, an initiative that he said that is sponsored by the U.S. government, and the U.S. is actually going to spend about $7 billion towards this project in the next 5 years, and this perhaps underlines that new language by the U.S. in terms of partnership and trade with Africa, not just economic assistance and aid. So, and this was the same message that Barack Obama was passing on to the business leaders that he met last evening. He held a roundtable discussion with business executives drawn from around the continent and U.S. investors here on the continent, and this was the same message that he was giving them. And just before he left, he said that Africa is full of promise, clearly showing signs that the U.S. is ready to whether to play catch-up, depends on how you look at it, to play catch-up and try and boost those relations between Africa and the U.S. And also this, you can say that the Dar es Salaam trip was basically to summarize the aspect of the three-nation tour by the U.S. president, which was mainly about economic cooperation and partnership. Brahma?
Indeed. Do Tanzanians feel that this is a true partnership of equals in the offering, or will it just be another one of those one-way engagements where one side reaps all or most of the benefits?
Well, I'd say that those we've spoken to, analysts and university professors, they're not really expectant or optimistic about this new deal. But let's not forget that the U.S. remains Tanzania's biggest development partner in terms of actual funds for infrastructure, health and education. In fact, when asked whether the U.S. has been doing enough in Tanzania, Tanzanian President Jakaya Kikwete said that actually heaped praises on the U.S., but said he doesn't mind the U.S. doing much more. So it's not like they're expecting so much from this visit. What they do know and what they believe is such visits are raising the country's geopolitical profile, and perhaps they just have to wait and see what the future holds. But that's not what others are saying, particularly the critics who remain skeptical about such visits by the US or China. They basically see this as serving their own interest, given that this is one country that has minerals that are largely unexploited. Rama?
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being. That's CCTV's Jen Keo in Dar es Salaam. Thank you so much for your time. We're taking another short break here on Africa Live. Here's what's coming up next. Boosting the mission. UN peacekeepers take over from African troops in Mali. We'll have the analysis when we return. Welcome back. In Mali, the United Nations officially took over peacekeeping operations from an African-led force on Monday. The West African nation has struggled to quell an 18-month rebellion by forces linked to Al-Qaeda in the country's north. The handover of peacekeeping responsibilities comes just 4 weeks before a scheduled presidential election. CCTV's Stephen Fee is at the UN headquarters in New York. He has more details.
At the official handover ceremony in Mali's capital, Bamako, soldiers donned robin's egg blue berets, the signature color of United Nations peacekeeping forces worldwide. The UN mission, known by its French acronym MINUSMA, will eventually number over 12,000, but for now it's comprised of some 6,000 troops from the African-led force.
African forces were working in very difficult conditions, and over the last month, we're seeing the beginning of progress.
Progress against rebel groups in the country's north. With the assistance of French troops, Malian government forces have retaken much of the country, and they've reached an agreement with separatist Tuareg rebels to hold a presidential election later this month.
It is vital that these elections be credible and peaceful, with the outcome accepted by all Malians.
Charged with maintaining the fragile peace, MINUSMA will be the third largest operation of its kind, and China has reportedly offered 500 troops, that country's biggest ever contribution to UN peacekeeping efforts.
They will not be a fighting force. They will not be an anti-terrorist force.
Peacekeeping expert Arthur Boutelis says the UN will face an array of challenges and must manage expectations.
I think there's a real risk that there's an expectation gap between what the Malians And the Malian government that will come out of the upcoming elections want from the UN, and what the UN will actually be able, based on its mandate and its capabilities, to deliver.
The UN force isn't expected to reach full capacity until year's end, and with the election just 4 weeks away, some experts are already calling for a postponement. Stephen Fee, CCTV at the United Nations in New York.
Let's get some more details on it now. CCTV's Kate Parkinson, she's live in the French capital of Paris. Kate, the United Nations force taking over from the African troops in that country. How many French troops will remain and what will they be doing in Mali?
Well, yes, at its peak, France had around 4,500 troops in Mali. They are bringing that number down. It's thought at the moment there's around 3,000 French troops remaining in the country, but that number will be reduced to 1,000 in the coming weeks and months. By the end of the year, certainly, there will be only 1,000 troops left in Mali. That's according to French officials. Those troops are expected to remain there indefinitely, though certainly France has welcomed this handover to the UN mission. They say it's part of Mali's transition to stabilization, but these French troops that will remain in the country will be there to provide support to the UN mission, certainly to assist with counter-terrorism operations, because after all, the UN mission is a peacekeeping mission.
Indeed. We'll have to leave it there for the time being, though, unfortunately. Thank you so much for that update. That's CCTV's Kate Parkinson live in Paris. Roughly about 1,000 or so French troops due to remain in Mali. Let's head south to South Africa. The country continues to wait for news on an ailing Nelson Mandela, and a lifelong friend has spoken out about his friendship and relationship really with that elder statesman. Advocate George Bezos was part of the legal team which represented Nelson Mandela during the Rivonia trial, which saw the struggle hero imprisoned for 27 years. CCTV's Famida Miller started their conversation by asking him about his relationship with Madiba, a man who's known for more than 60 years.
I feel privileged that I was associated with him in the great contribution that he made to democracy, liberty, respect for human dignity, completely unselfish, not concerned about what was in the exercise in power for him, but how he could exercise his power for the benefit of the people as a whole.
Mr. Bezos, when is the last time you visited and spoke with Mr. Mandela?
About a month ago, a week before he was admitted to hospital. His wife, Graça Machel, was there. He was eating a late lunch, early dinner type of arrangement. We spoke. He participated in our conversation. He was quite aware of his surroundings because I had left my jacket in the car. And as I was saying goodbye, he said, "George, make sure that you don't leave your jacket behind." The usual concern of a friend.
Why did Mr. Mandela step down after serving just one term as president?
We actually tried to pressurize him to take a second term. And he said, "No, I have made up my mind, only one term, because I don't want people to think that South Africa is a one-man show," firstly. Secondly, power is to be exercised, not because of your birth or because of your privilege, because you were elected by the people to do what is best for them.